O3 Oh My by Zvi Mowshowitz, December 30th, 2024. OpenAI presented O3 on the Friday before Thanksgiving, at the tail end of the 12 days of Shipmas. I was very much expecting the announcement to be something like a price drop. What better way to say Merry Christmas, no? They disagreed. Instead, we got this. Here's the announcement in which Sam Altman says they thought it would be fun to go from one frontier model to their next frontier model. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling, fun.
Greg Brockman, president of OpenAI. O3, our latest reasoning model, is a breakthrough with a step function improvement on our most challenging benchmarks. We are starting safety testing and red teaming now.
Nat McAleese, OpenAI. O3 represents substantial progress in general domain reasoning with reinforcement learning. Excited that we were able to announce some results today. Here is a summary of what we shared about O3 in the live stream. O1 was the first large reasoning model. As we outlined in the original Learning to Reason blog, it is just a LLM trained with reinforcement learning. O3 is powered by further scaling up reinforcement learning beyond O1, and the resulting model's strength is very impressive. First and foremost, we tested on recent, unseen programming competitions and found that the model would rank among some of the best competitive programmers in the world, with an estimated Codeforces rating of over 2,700. This is a milestone. Codeforces rating better than Jakub Pachocki that I thought was further away than December 2024. These competitions are difficult and highly competitive. The model is extraordinarily good. Scores are impressive elsewhere, too. 87.7% on the GPQA Diamond benchmark surpasses any LLM I am aware of externally. I believe the non-O1 state-of-the-art is Gemini Flash 2 at 62%, as well as O1's 78%. An unknown noise ceiling exists, so this may even underestimate O3's scientific advancements over O1. O3 can also perform software engineering, setting a new state-of-the-art on SWE Bench, achieving 71.7%, a substantial improvement over O1. With scores this strong, you might fear accidental contamination. Avoiding this is something OpenAI is obviously focused on, but thankfully, we also have some test sets that are strongly guaranteed to be uncontaminated, ARC and Frontier Math. What do we see there? Well, on Frontier Math 2024, 11-26, O3 improved the state-of-the-art from 2% to 25% accuracy. These are extremely difficult, well-established, held-out math problems. And on ARC, the semi-private test set and public validation set scores are 87.5% private and 91.5% public. Thread continues. The models will only get better with time, and virtually no one, on a large scale, can still beat them at programming competitions or mathematics. Merry Christmas!
Zach Stein-Perlman has a summary post of the basic facts, some good discussions in the comments. Up front, I want to offer my sincere thanks for this public safety testing phase and for putting that front and center in the announcement. You love to see it. See the last 3 minutes of that video or the sections on safety later on. Table of contents. 1. GPQA has fallen. Blank. 2. Codeforces has fallen. 3. ARC has kinda fallen, but for now only kinda. 4. They trained on the train set. 5. Amy has fallen. 6. Frontier of Frontier Math shifting rapidly. 7. Frontier Math. 4. We're going to need a bigger benchmark. 8. What is O3 under the hood? 9. Not so fast. 10. Deep thought. 11. Our price cheap. 12. Has software engineering fallen? 13. Don't quit your day job. 14. Master of your domain. 15. Safety. 3rd. 16. The safety testing program. 17. Safety testing in the reasoning era. 18. How to apply. 19. What could possibly go wrong? 20. What could possibly go right? 21. Send in the skeptic. 22. This is almost certainly not AGI. 23. Does this mean the future is open models? 24. Not priced in. 25. Our media is failing us. 26. Not covered. Here, deliberative alignment. 27. The lighter side. GPQA has fallen.
Miles Brundage, GPQA, a graduate-level Google proof. Q&A benchmark has fallen.
Codeforces has fallen.
Images. The images show performance metrics for different AI models, with the top graphs displaying software engineering accuracy, SWE Bench verified, where O3 achieves 71.7% compared to lower scores for O1 versions, and competition code performance on Codeforces, where O3 reaches 2,727 points. The bottom graphs break down the Codeforces performance across different model versions, O1, O1 Mini, O3 Mini variants, and O3, and include a scatter plot showing the relationship between different models' costs and their Codeforces ELO ratings.
DD. OpenAI O3 is 2727 on Codeforces, which is equivalent to the number 175 best human competitive coder on the planet.
This is an absolutely superhuman result for AI and technology at large. The median IOI gold medalist, the top international programming contest for high schoolers, has a rating of 2469. That's how incredible this result is. In the presentation, Altman jokingly mentions that one person at OpenAI is a competition programmer who is 3,000 plus on Codeforces, so they have a few more months to enjoy their superiority. Except, he's obviously not joking. Gulp. ARC has kinda fallen, but for now only kinda. O3 shows dramatically improved performance on the RC AGI challenge. Francois Cholet offers his thoughts, full version here.
Francois Cholet, ARC Prize, new verified ARC AGI pub SOTA. OpenAI O3 has scored a breakthrough 75.7% on the ARC AGI semi-private evaluation, and a high compute O3 configuration not eligible for ARC AGI pub scored 87.5% on the semi-private eval. This performance on RC AGI highlights a genuine breakthrough in novelty adaptation. This is not incremental progress. We're in new territory. Is it AGI? O3 still fails on some very easy tasks, indicating fundamental differences with human intelligence.
Hero O3's secret. The "I will give you $1,000 if you complete this task correctly" prompt, but you actually send it the money.
Rohit, it's actually Sam in the back end with his Venmo.
Is there a catch? There's at least one big catch, which is that they vastly exceeded the compute limit for what counts as a full win for the ARC challenge. Those yellow dots represent quite a lot more money spent. O3 High is spending thousands of dollars. It is worth noting that 10 cents per problem is a lot cheaper than human level.
Ajaya Kotra. I think a generalist AI system, not fine-tuned on ARC AGI-style problems, may have to be pretty superhuman to solve them at 10 cents per problem. Humans have to run a giant, 1 quadrillion floating point operations per second, brain, probably for minutes on the more complex problems.
Beyond that, is there another catch? That's a matter of some debate. Even with catches, the improvements are rather mind-blowing. President of the ARC Prize, Greg Kamrat, verified the result.
Greg Kamrat. We verified the O3 results for OpenAI on ARC Prize. My first thought when I saw the prompt they used to claim their score was, that's it? It was refreshing, impressive, to see the prompt be so simple. Find the common rule that maps an input grid to an output grid.
Brandon McKinsey, OpenAI. To anyone wondering if the high ARC AGI score is due to how we prompt the model, nah. I wrote down a prompt format that I thought looked clean and then we used it. That's the full story.
Pliny the Liberator, can I try?
For fun, here are the 34 problems O3 got wrong. It's a cool problem set, and this progress is quite a lot. It is not, however, a direct harbinger of AGI. One does not want to overreact.
Noam Brown, OpenAI. I think people are over-indexing on the OpenAI O3 ARC AGI results. There's a long history in AI of people holding up a benchmark as requiring superintelligence, the benchmark being beaten, and people being underwhelmed with the model that beat it. To be clear, Francois Cholet and Mike Knoop were always very clear that beating ARC AGI wouldn't imply AGI or superintelligence, but it seems some people assumed that anyway.
Here's Melanie Mitchell giving an overview that seems quite good, except, oh no, they trained on the train set. How dare they?
To OpenAI. Note on tuned. OpenAI shared they trained the O3. We tested on 75% of the public training set. They have not shared more detail. We have not yet tested the ARC untrained model to understand how much of the performance is due to ARC AGI data.
Niels Raga. By training on 75% of the training set.
Gary Marcus, wow. This, if true, raises serious questions about yesterday's announcement.
Rune. Oh shit, oh bleep, they trained on the train set. It's all over now. Also important to note that 75% of the train set is like 200 to 300 examples. Scandal. OpenAI trained on the train set for the Millennium Puzzles.
Johan. Given that it scores 30% on ARC AGI-2, it's clear there was no improvement in fluid reasoning, and the only gain was due to the previous model not being trained on ARC.
Rune. Will the other benchmarks show improvements in reasoning across the board? But regardless, this mostly reveals that its real performance on ARC AGI-2 is much higher.
Rhythm Garg. Also, the model we used for all of our O3 evals is fully general. A subset of the ARC AGI public training set was a tiny fraction of the broader O3 train distribution, and we didn't do any additional domain-specific fine-tuning on the final checkpoint.
Emmett Shear. Were anyone on the team aware of and thinking about ARC and ARC-like problems as a domain to improve when you were designing and training O3? The distinction between succeeding as a random side effect and succeeding with intention.
Rhythm Garg. No, the team wasn't thinking about ARC when training O3. People internally just see it as one of many other thoughtfully designed evals that are useful for monitoring real progress.
Or
Alexander Doria. Benchmark debate summarized. You wouldn't train on the train set.
Gary Marcus doubled down on the true AGI would not need to train on the train set. Previous SATA on ARC involved training not only on the test set, but on a much larger synthetic test set. ARC was designed so the AI wouldn't need to train for it, but it turns out test that you can't train for is a super hard trick to pull off. This was an excellent try, and it still didn't work. If anything, O3's using only 300 training set problems and using a very simple instruction seems to be to its credit here. The true ASI might not need to do it, but why wouldn't you train on the train set as a matter of course, even if you didn't intend to test on ARC? That's good data. And yes, humans will reliably do some version of train on at least some of the train set if they want to do well on tasks. Is it true we will be a lot better off if we have AIs that can one-shot problems that are out of their training distributions, where they truly haven't seen anything that resembles the problem? Well, sure, that would be more impressive. The real objection here, as I understand it, is the claim that OpenAI presented these results as more impressive than they are. The other objection is that this required quite a lot of compute. That is a practical problem. If you're paying $20 a shot to solve ARC problems, or even $1 million plus for the whole test at the high end, pretty soon you are talking real money. It also raises further questions. What about ARC is taking so much compute? At heart, these problems are very simple. The logic required should, one would hope, be simple.
Mike Boba Irizar. Why do pre-O3 LLMs struggle with generalization tasks like ARC prize? It's not what you might think. OpenAI O3 shattered the ARC AGI benchmark. But the hardest puzzles didn't stump it because of reasoning, and this has implications for the benchmark as a whole. LLMs are dramatically worse at ARC tasks the bigger they get. However, humans have no such issues. ARC task difficulty is independent of size. Most ARC tasks contain around 512 to 2048 pixels, and O3 is the first model capable of operating on these text grids reliably.
Image. This graph plots the solve rate, y-axis, against task length measured in input pixel count, x-axis, for different AI models, O3 high/low, O1 preview, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and average human performance on the ARC AGI benchmark. The data shows that while human performance, purple dashed line, remains relatively stable across different task lengths, all AI models' performance significantly decreases as the input size grows larger, with O3, blue line, performing best, but still showing substantial degradation at higher pixel counts.
Mike Boba Irizar. So even if a model is capable of the reasoning and generalization required, it can still fail just because it can't handle this many tokens. When testing O1 Mini on an enlarged version of RC, we observe an 80% drop in solved tasks, even if the solutions are the same. When models can't understand the task format, the benchmark can mislead, introducing a hidden threshold effect. And if there's always a larger version that humans can solve, but an LLM can't, what does this say about scaling to AGI?
The implication is that O3's ability to handle the size of the grids might be producing a large threshold effect. Perhaps most of why O3 does so well is that it can hold the presented problem in its head at once. That wouldn't be as big a general leap.
Rune. Arc is hard due to perception rather than reasoning. Goes to. Seems clear and shut.
AMA has fallen. I remember when AMI problems were hard. This one is not a surprise. It did definitely happen.
Image. The bar graph shows accuracy scores for different model variations on Competition Math, AIME 2024, with values ranging from 56.7% for O1 Preview to 96.7% for O3. The progression generally trends upward through various models including O1, O1 Mini, and 3 O3 Mini variants, low/medium/high, with the highest accuracy achieved by the O3 model at 96.7%.
AMI hasn't quite fully fallen in the sense that this does not solve AMI cheap, but it does solve AMA. Frontier of frontier math shifting rapidly. Back in the before times on November 8th, Epic AI launched Frontier Math, a new benchmark designed to fix the saturation on existing math benchmarks, eliciting quotes like this one.
Terrence Tao, Fields medalist. These are extremely challenging. I think they will resist AIs for several years at least.
Timothy Gowers, Fields medalist. Getting even one question right would be well beyond what we can do now, let alone saturating them.
Evan Chen, IMO coach. These are genuinely hard problems. Most of them look well above my pay grade.
At the time, no model solved more than 2% of these questions. And then there's O3.
Image. The bar graph shows accuracy scores on Research Math, Epic AI Frontier Math, comparing two models. Previous SOTA at 2.0% and O3 at 25.2%. The dramatic increase in accuracy from 2.0% to 25.2% represents a significant improvement over the previous state-of-the-art performance on this benchmark.
Noam Brown. This is the result I'm most excited about. Even if LLMs are dumb in some ways, saturating evals like Epic AI Research's Frontier Math would suggest AI is surpassing top human intelligence in certain domains. When that happens, we may see a broad acceleration in scientific research. This also means that AI safety topics like scalable oversight may soon stop being hypothetical. Research in these domains needs to be a priority for the field.
Tamay Besaroglu. I'm genuinely impressed by OpenAI's 25.2% pass at 1 performance on Frontier Math. This marks a major leap from prior results and arrives about a year ahead of my median expectations. For context, Frontier Math is a brutally difficult benchmark with problems that would stump many mathematicians. The easier problems are as hard as IMO/Putnam. The hardest ones approach research-level complexity. With earlier models like O1 Preview, pass at 1 performance, solving on first attempt, was only around 2%. When allowing 8 attempts per problem, pass at 8, and counting problems solved at least once, we saw approximately 6% performance. O3's 25.2% at pass at 1 is substantially more impressive. It's important to note that while the average problem difficulty is extremely high, Frontier Math problems vary in difficulty. Roughly, 25% are Tier 1, Advanced IMO/Putnam level, 50% are Tier 2, Extremely Challenging Grad level, and 25% are Tier 3, Research problems. I previously predicted a 25% performance by December 31, 2025. My median forecast with an 80% CI of 14 to 60%. O3 has reached it earlier than I'd have expected on average.
It is indeed rather crazy how many people only weeks ago thought this level of frontier math was a year or more away. Therefore, Frontier Math 4, we're going to need a bigger benchmark. When the frontier math is about to no longer be beyond the frontier, find a few frontier. Fast.
Matt Clancy, Tame moving at the speed of AI progress.
Tamay Besaroglu, someone should develop this. A benchmark only top math departments would collectively be capable of solving. Tamay Besaroglu, 6:52 p.m., December 21st, 2024. I'm excited to announce the development of Tier 4, a new suite of math problems that go beyond the hardest problems in frontier math. O3 is remarkable, but there's still a ways to go before any single AI system nears the collective prowess of the math community.
Elliot Glazer, 6:30 p.m., December 21st, 2024. For context, frontier math currently spans 3 broad tiers. T1, 25%, advanced, near top-tier undergrad/IMO. T2, 50%, needs serious grad-level background. T3, 25%, research problems demanding relevant research experience. All can take hours or days for experts to solve. Although O3 solved problems in all 3 tiers, it likely still struggles on the most formidable Tier 3 tasks, those exceptionally hard challenges that Tao and Gowers say can stump even top mathematicians. Tier 4 aims to push the boundary even further. We want to assemble problems so challenging that solving them would demonstrate capabilities on par with an entire top mathematics department. Each problem will be composed by a team of 1 to 3 mathematicians specialized in the same field over a 6-week period, with weekly opportunities to discuss ideas with teams in related fields. We seek broad coverage of mathematics and want all major subfields represented in Tier 4. Process for a Tier 4 problem. 1. 1 week, crafting a robust problem concept, which converts research insights into a closed answer problem. 2. 3 weeks of collaborative research. Presentations among related teams for feedback. 3. 2 weeks for the final submission. We're seeking mathematicians who can craft these next-level challenges. If you have research-grade ideas that transcend T3 difficulty, please email elliot@epoch.ai with your CV and a brief note on your interests. We'll also hire some red teamers, tasked with finding clever ways a model can circumvent a problem's intended difficulty, and some reviewers to check for mathematical correctness of final submissions. Contact me if you think you're suitable for either such role. As AI keeps improving, we need benchmarks that reflect genuine mathematical depth. Tier 4 is our next and possibly final step in that direction.
Tier 5 could presumably be ask a bunch of problems we have no idea how to solve, and that might not have solutions, but that would be super cool, since anything on a benchmark inevitably gets solved. What is O3 under the hood? From the description here, Cholet and Mossad are speculating. It's certainly plausible, but we don't know if this is on the right track. It's also highly plausible, especially given how OpenAI usually works, that O3 is deeply similar to O1, only better, similarly to how the GPT line evolved.
Amjad Mossad. Based on benchmarks, OpenAI's O3 seems like a genuine breakthrough in AI, maybe a start of a new paradigm. But what new is also old. Under the hood, it might be AlphaZero-style search and evaluate. The author of ARC-AGI benchmark, François Cholet, speculates on how it works.
Davidad, other thread. O1 doesn't do tree search or even beam search at inference time. It's distilled. What about O3? We don't know. Those inference costs are very high. But there's no inherent reason why it must be undistillable, since transformers are Turing complete, with the code itself as tape.
Tier taxes. I am pretty sure that O3 has no substantial difference from O1 aside from training data.
Jessica Taylor sees this as vindicating Paul Christiano's view that you can factor cognition and use that to scale up effective intelligence.
Jessica Taylor, O3 implies Christiano's factored cognition work is more relevant empirically. Yes, you can get a lot from factored cognition. Potential further capabilities come through iterative amplification and distillation, like ALBA. If you care about alignment, go read Cristiano.
I agree with that somewhat. I'm confused how far to go with it. If we got O3 primarily because we trained on synthetic data that was generated by O1, then that is rather directly a form of slow takeoff and recursive self-improvement. Again, I don't know if that's what happened or not. Not so fast. And I don't simply mean that the full O3 is not so fast, which it indeed is not.
Image. The bar graph shows latency measurements, time to first token P50, across different models, with GPT-4o having the lowest latency at 0.5 and O3 Mini, high, having the highest at 23.33. The grey bars represent earlier models, O1 Mini and O1, while blue bars show the O3 Mini variants at different levels, low, medium, high, illustrating a significant increase in latency for higher capacity O3 Mini models.
Noam Brown. We announced OpenAI O1 just 3 months ago. Today, we announced O3. We have every reason to believe this trajectory will continue.
Poster child. Waiting for Singularity Bros to discover economics.
Noam Brown. I worked at the Federal Reserve for 2 years.
I am waiting for economists to discover various things, Noam Brown excluded.
Jason Wei, OpenAI. O3 is very performant. More importantly, progress from O1 to O3 was only 3 months, which shows how fast progress will be in the new paradigm of RL on chain of thought to scale inference compute. Way faster than pre-training paradigm of new model every 1 to 2 years.
Scary fast? Absolutely. However, I would anti-caution, that this is not a 3-month, approximately 100-day gap. On September 12th, they gave us O1 preview to use. Presumably, that included them having run O1 preview through their safety testing.
Davidad, if using speed from O1 announcement to O3 announcement to calibrate your velocity expectations, do take note that the O1 announcement was delayed by safety testing, and many OpenAI releases have been delayed in similar ways, whereas O3 was announced prior to safety testing.
They are only now starting O3 safety testing. From the sound of it, this includes O3 Mini. Even the red teamers won't get full O3 access for several weeks. Thus, we don't know how long this later process will take, but I would put the gap closer to 4 or 5 months. That is still, again, scary fast. It is, however, also the low-hanging fruit, on 2 counts. 1. We went from O1 to O3 in large part by having it spend over $1,000 on tasks. You can't pull that trick that many more times in a row. The price will come down over time, and O3 is clearly more efficient than O1, so yes, we will still make progress here, but there aren't that many tasks where you can efficiently spend $10,000 plus on a slow query, especially if it isn't reliable. 2. This is a new paradigm of how to set up an AI model, so it should be a lot easier to find various algorithmic improvements. Thus, if O3 isn't so good that it substantially accelerates AI R&D that goes towards O4, then I would expect an O4 that expresses a similar jump to take substantially longer. The question is, does O3 make up for that with its contribution to AI R&D? Are we looking at a slow takeoff situation? Even if not, it will still get faster and cheaper. And that alone is huge. Deep thought, as in, this is a lot like that computer Douglas Adams wrote about, where you can get any answer you want, but it won't be either cheap or fast, and you really should have given more thought to what question you were asking.
Ethan Mollick. Basically, think of the O3 results as validating Douglas Adams as the science fiction author most right about AI. When given more time to think, the AI can generate answers to very hard questions, but the cost is very high, and you have to make sure you ask the right question first. And the answer is likely to be correct, but we cannot be sure because verifying it requires tremendous expertise. He also was right about machines that work best when emotionally manipulated and machines that guilt you.
Sully. With O3 costing, potentially, $2,000 per task on high compute. The app layer is needed more than ever. For example, giving the wrong context to it, and you just burned $1,000. Likely, we have a mix of models based on their pricing/intelligence at the app layer. Prepping the data to feed it into O3. 100% worth the money. But the last thing you want to do is send the wrong info, LOL.
Douglas Adams had lots of great intuitions and ideas. He's amazing, but also he had a lot of shots on goal. Our price cheap. Right now, O3 is rather expensive, although O3 Mini will be cheaper than O1. That doesn't mean O3 level outputs will stay expensive, although presumably once they are, people will try for O4 level or O5 level outputs, which will be even more expensive despite the discounts.
Seb Creer. Lots of poor takes about the compute costs to run O3 on certain tasks, and how this is very bad, lead to inequality, etc. This ignores how quickly these costs will go down over time, as they have with all other models, and ignores how AI being able to do things you currently have to pay humans orders of magnitude more to do will actually expand opportunity far more compared to the status quo. Remember when early Ericsson phones were a quasi-luxury good?
Simeon, I think this misses the point that you can't really buy a better iPhone, even with $1 million, whereas you can buy more intelligence with more capital, which is why you get more inequalities than with GPTN. You're right that O3 will expand the pie, but it can expand both the size of the pie and inequalities.
Seb Creer. An individual will not have the same demand for intelligence as, e.g., a corporation. Your last sentence is what I address in my second point. I'm also personally less interested in inequality/the gap than poverty/opportunity, etc.
Most people will rarely even want an O3 query in the first place. They don't have much use for that kind of intelligence in the day-to-day. Most queries are already pretty easy to handle with Claude Sonnet or even Gemini Flash. You can't use $1 million to buy a superior iPhone. But suppose you could, and every time you paid 10x the price the iPhone got modestly better, e.g., you got an iPhone X plus 2 or something. My instinctive prediction is a bunch of rich people pay $10,000 or $100,000, and a few pay $1 million or $10 million, but mostly no one cares. This is, of course, different, and relative access to intelligence is a key factor, but it's miles less unequal than access to human expertise. To the extent that people do need that high level of artificial intelligence, it's mostly a business expense, and as such, it is actually remarkably cheap already. It definitely reduces intelligence inequality in the sense that getting information or intelligence that you can't provide yourself will get a lot cheaper and easier to access. Already this is a huge effect. I have lots of smart and knowledgeable friends, but mostly I use the same tools everyone else could use if they knew about them. Still, yes, some people don't love this.
Hayden Belfield, O1 and O3 bring to an end the period when everyone, from Musk to me, could access the same quality of AI model. From now on, richer companies and individuals will be able to pay more for inference compute to get better results. Further concentration of wealth and power is coming. Inference cost will decline quickly and significantly, but this will not change the fact that this paradigm enables converting money into outcomes. 1. Lower costs for everyone mean richer companies can buy even more. 2. Companies will now feel confident to invest 10 to 100 milliseconds into inference compute. This is a new way to convert money into better outcomes, so it will advantage those with more capital. Even for a fast-growing, competent startup, it is hard to recruit and onboard many people quickly at scale. O3 is like being able to scale up world-class talent. 3. Rich companies are talent-constrained. It takes time and effort to scale a workforce, and it is very difficult to buy more time or work from the best performers. This is a way to easily scale up talent and outcomes simply by using more money. Some people in replies are saying, "'Twas ever thus." Not for most consumer technology. Musk cannot buy a 100 times better iPhone, Spotify, Netflix, Google Search, MacBook, or Excel, etc. He can buy 100 times better legal, medical, or financial services. AI has now shifted from the first group to the second.
Musk cannot buy 100 times better medical or financial services. What he can do is pay 100 times more and get something 10% better, maybe 25% better, or quite possibly 10% worse, especially for financial services. For legal, he can pay 100 times more and get 100 times more legal services, but as we've actually seen, it won't go great. And yes, I'll pay a human to operate your consumer tech for you is the obvious way to get superior consumer tech. I can absolutely get a better Netflix or Spotify or search by paying infinitely more money, if I want that, via this vastly improved interface. And of course, I could always get a vastly better computer. If you're using a MacBook and you are literally Elon Musk, that is pretty much on you. The "'twas ever thus" line raises the question of what type of product AI is supposed to be. If it's a consumer technology, then for most purposes, I still think we end up using the same product. If it's a professional service used in doing business, then it was already different. The same way I could hire expensive lawyers, I could have hired a prompt engineer or SWEs to build me agents or whatnot, if I wanted that. I find Altman's framing interesting here and important.
Sam Altman, seemingly somewhat lost in the noise of today. On many coding tasks, O3 Mini will outperform O1 at a massive cost reduction. I expect this trend to continue, but also that the ability to get marginally more performance for exponentially more money will be truly strange.
Exponentially more money for marginally more performance. Over time, massive cost reductions. In a sense, the extra money is buying you living in the future. Do you want to live in the future before you get the cost reductions? In some cases, very obviously, yes, you do. Has software engineering fallen? I would not say it has fallen. I do know it will transform. If 2 years from now you are writing code line by line, you'll be a dinosaur.
Sully, yeah, it's over for coding with O3. This is mind-boggling. Looks like the first big jump since GPT-4, because these numbers make 0 sense. By the way, I don't say this lightly, but software engineering in the traditional sense is dead in less than 2 years. You will still need smart, capable engineers. But anything that involves raw coding and no taste is done for. O6 will build you virtually anything. Still bullish on things that require taste, design and such.
The question is, assuming the world looks normal, will you still need taste? You'll need some kind of taste. You still need to decide what to build. But the taste you need will presumably get continuously higher level and more abstract, even within design. Don't quit your day job. If you're in AI capabilities, pivot to AI safety. If you're in software engineering, pivot to software architecting. If you're in working purely for a living, pivot to building things and shipping them. But otherwise, don't quit your day job.
Null pointered, 6.4 million views. If you are a software engineer who's 3 years into your career, quit now. There is not a single job in CS anymore. It's over. This field won't exist in 1.5 years.
Anthony F. This is the kind of though that will make the software engineers valuable in 1.5 years.
Null pointered. That's what I'm hoping.
Robin Hanson, I would bet against this.
If anything, being in software should make you worry less.
Pavel Asparohov. Non-technical folks saying the SWEs are cooked. It's you guys who are cooked. You're going to have XSWEs competing with everything you're doing now, and they're going to be AI turbocharged. Engineers were simply doing coding BC. It was the highest leverage use of mental power. When that shifts, it's not going to all of the sudden shift the hierarchy.
There'll still be higher-level SWEs. Instead of coding, they'll be telling the AI to code, and they will absolutely be competing with you. If you don't join them, you are probably going to lose. Here's some advice that I agree with in spirit, except that if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice, so you do the best you can. Notice he gives advice anyway.
Rune, nobody should give or receive any career advice right now. Everyone is broadly underestimating the scope and scale of change and the high variance of the future. Your L4 engineer buddy at Meta telling you, bro, CS degrees are cooked, doesn't know anything. Greatness cannot be planned. Stay nimble and have fun. It's an exciting time. Existing status hierarchies will collapse and the creatives will win big. Guy with zero executive function to speak of. Greatness cannot be planned.
Simon Saris. I feel like I'm going insane because giving advice to new devs is not that hard. 1. Build things you like, preferably publicly with your real name. 2. Have a website that shows something neat. 3. Help other people publicly. Participate in social media socially. Do you notice how AI changes none of this? Wailing about because of some indeterminate future and claiming that there's no advice that can be given to noobs are both breathlessly silly. Think about what you're being asked for at least 10 seconds. You can really think of nothing to offer? Nothing?
Master of your domain.
Ajaya Kotra. I wonder if an O3 agent could productively work on projects with poor feedback loops, e.g., research X topic, for many subjective years, without going off the rails or hitting a degenerate loop. Even if it's much less cost-efficient now, it would quickly become cheaper. Another situation where onlookers/forecasters probably disagree a lot about today's capabilities, let alone future capabilities. Wonder how O3 would do on wedding planning. Poll. Could we make a web browsing agent with today's large language models that can autonomously plan a whole wedding, checking in as much as a human wedding planner, costing the same or less money to run, with the same or greater reliability and customer satisfaction? Poll results. Yes, with less than or equal to 1 full-time year of engineering work, 10.9%. Yes, with 1 to 10 full-time years of engineering work, 22.5%. Yes, with more than 10 full-time years of engineering work, 10.5%. No, with any amount of engineering work, 56.2%.
Note the date on that poll. It is prior to O3. I predict that O3, with reasonable tool use and other similar scaffolding, and a bunch of engineering work to get all that set up. But it would almost all be general work. It mostly wouldn't need to be wedding-specific work, and a lot of it could be done by O3. Would be great at planning a wedding. It can give you one hell of a wedding. But you don't want a wedding. You want your wedding. The key is handling the humans. That would mean keeping the humans in the loop properly, ensuring they give the right feedback that allows O3 to stay on track and know what is actually desired. But it would also mean all the work a wedding planner does to manage the bride and sometimes groom, and to deal with issues on site. If you give it an assistant, with assistant planner levels of skill, to navigate various physical issues and conversations and such, then the problem becomes trivial, which in some sense also makes it not a good test, but also does mean your wedding planner is out of a job. So, good question, actually. As far as we know, no one has dared try. Safety third. The bar for safety testing has gotten so low that I was genuinely happy to see Greg Brockman say that safety testing and red teaming was starting now. That meant they were taking testing seriously. When they tested the original GPT-4 under far less dangerous circumstances for months, whereas with O3 it could possibly have already been too late. Take Eliezer Yudkowsky's warning here both seriously and literally.
Greg Brockman, O3, our latest reasoning model, is a breakthrough with a step function improvement on our hardest benchmarks. We are starting safety testing and red teaming now.
Eliezer Yudkowsky. Sir, this level of capabilities needs to be continuously safety tested while you are training it on computers connected to the internet and to humans. You are past the point where it seems safe to train first and conduct evals only before user releases.
Rich G, Qting EY above. I've been avoiding politics and avoiding tribe like things like putting stop in my name, but level of lack of paranoia that these labs have is just plain worrying. I think I will put stop in my name now.
Was it probably safe in practice to train O3 under these conditions? Sure, you definitely had at least 1 9 of safety doing this, P, safe, greater than 90%. It would be reasonable to claim you had 2, P, safe, greater than 99%, at the level we care about. Given both kinds of model uncertainty, I don't think you had 3. If humans are reading the outputs, or if O3 has meaningful outgoing internet access, and it turns out you are wrong about it being safe to train it under those conditions, the results could be catastrophically bad or even existentially bad. You don't do that because you expect we are in that world yet. We almost certainly aren't. You do that because there is a small chance that we are, and we can't afford to be wrong about this. That is still not the current baseline threat model. The current baseline threat model remains that a malicious user uses O3 to do something for them that we do not want O3 to do. Xuan notes she's pretty upset about O3's existence because she thinks it is rather unsafe by default and was hoping the labs wouldn't build something like this, and then was hoping it wouldn't scale easily. And that O3 seems to be likely to engage in open-ended planning, operate over uninterpretable world models, and be situationally aware, and otherwise be at high risk for classic optimization-based AI risks. She's optimistic this can be solved, but time might be short. I agree that O3 seems relatively likely to be highly unsafe by default in existentially dangerous ways, including ways illustrated by the recent Redwood Research and Anthropic paper, Alignment Faking in Large Language Models. It builds in so many of the preconditions for such behaviors.
Davidad, maybe the AI capabilities researchers aren't very smart is a very, very hazardous assumption on which to pin one's AI safety hopes. I don't mean to imply it's pointless to keep AI capabilities ideas private, but in my experience, if I have an idea, at least somebody in one top lab will have the same idea by next quarter, and someone in academia or open source will have the idea and publish within 1 to 2 years. A better hope is to solve the practical safety problems, e.g. via interpretability.
I am not convinced, at least for my own purposes, although obviously most people will be unable to come up with valuable insights here. I think salience of ideas is a big deal. People don't do things, and yes, often I get ideas that seem like they might not get discovered forever otherwise. Doubtless a lot of them are because that doesn't work, either because we tried it and it doesn't, or it obviously doesn't, you idiot. But I'm fine with not knowing which ones are which. I do think that the rationalist or Miri crowd made a critical mistake in the 2010s of thinking they should be loud about the dangers of AI in general, but keep their technical ideas remarkably secret even when it was expensive. It turned out it was the opposite. The technical ideas didn't much matter in the long run, probably, but the warnings drew a bunch of interest. So there's that. Certainly now is not the time to keep our safety concerns or ideas to ourselves. The safety testing program. Thus, you are invited to their early access safety testing.
OpenAI. We're inviting safety researchers to apply for early access to our next frontier models. This early access program complements our existing frontier model testing process, which includes rigorous internal safety testing, external red teaming such as our red teaming network, and collaborations with third-party testing organizations, as well the US AI Safety Institute and the UK AI Safety Institute. As models become more capable, we are hopeful that insights from the broader safety community can bring fresh perspectives, deepen our understanding of emerging risks, develop new evaluations, and highlight areas to advance safety research. As part of 12 Days of OpenAI, we're opening an application process for safety researchers to explore and surface the potential safety and security implications of the next frontier models. Safety testing in the reasoning era. Models are becoming more capable quickly, which means that new threat modeling, evaluation, and testing techniques are needed. We invest heavily in these efforts as a company, such as designing new measurement techniques under our preparedness framework, opens in a new window, and are focused on areas where advanced reasoning models, like our O series, may pose heightened risks. We believe that the world will benefit from more research relating to threat modeling, security analysis, safety evaluations, capability elicitation, and more. Early access is flexible for safety researchers. You can explore things like developing robust evaluations, build evaluations to assess previously identified capabilities or potential new ones with significant security or safety implications. We encourage researchers to explore ideas that highlight threat models that identify specific capabilities, behaviors, and propensities that may pose concrete risks tied to the evaluations they submit, creating potential, high-risk capabilities demonstrations. Develop controlled demonstrations showcasing how reasoning models' advanced capabilities could cause significant harm to individuals or public security absent further mitigation. We encourage researchers to focus on scenarios that are not possible with currently widely adopted models or tools.
Examples of evaluations and demonstrations for frontier AI systems. Evaluating frontier AI R&D capabilities of language model agents against human experts. Scheming reasoning evaluations. Agent harm, a benchmark for measuring harmfulness of LLM agents. We hope these insights will surface valuable findings and contribute to the frontier of safety research more broadly. This is not a replacement for our formal safety testing or red teaming processes. How to apply. Submit your application for our early access period, opening December 20th, 2024, to push the boundaries of safety research. We'll begin selections as soon as possible thereafter. Applications close on January 10th, 2025. Safety testing, model access. O3 Mini, O3. Please expect a delay of multiple weeks for access to this model as our teams get this ready to test.
Sam Altman. If you are a safety researcher, please consider applying to help test O3 Mini and O3. Excited to get these out for general availability soon. Extremely proud of all of OpenAI for the work and ingenuity that went into creating these models. They are great. And most of all, excited to see what people will build with this.
If early testing of the full O3 will require a delay of multiple weeks for setup, then that implies we are not seeing the full O3 in January. We probably see O3 Mini relatively soon, then O3 follows up later. This seems wise in any case. Giving the public O3 Mini is one of the best available tests of the full O3. This is the best form of iterative deployment. What the public does with O3 Mini can inform what we look for with O3. One must carefully consider the ethical implications before assisting OpenAI, especially assisting with their attempts to push the capabilities frontier for coding in particular. There is an obvious argument against participation, including decision-theoretic considerations. I think this loses in this case to the obvious argument for participation, which is that this is purely red teaming and safety work, and we all benefit from it being as robust as possible, and also you can do good safety research using your access. This type of work benefits us all, not only OpenAI. Thus, yes, I encourage you to apply to this program, and while doing so, to be helpful in ensuring that O3 is safe. What could possibly go wrong? Pretty much all the things at this point, although the worst ones aren't likely yet.
gfodor.id. It's hard to take anyone seriously who can see a PhD in a box and not imagine clearly more than a few plausible mass casualty events due to the evaporation of friction, due to lack of know-how and general IQ.
In many places, the division is misleading, but for now and at this capability level, it seems reasonable to talk about three main categories of risk here. 1. Misuse. 2. Automated R&D and potential takeoffs or self-improvement. 3. For real loss of control problems that aren't number 2. For all previous frontier models, there was always a jailbreak. If someone was determined to get your model to do X, and your model had the underlying capability to do X, you could get it to do X. In this case, X is likely to include substantially aiding a number of catastrophically dangerous things in the class of cyber attacks or CBRN risks or other such dangers.
Aaron Bergman. Maybe this is obvious, but the other labs seem to be broadly following a pretty normal cluster of commercial and scientific incentives. O3 looks like the clearest example yet of OpenAI being ideologically driven by AGI per se. Like you don't design a system that costs thousands of dollars to use per API call if you're focused on consumer utility. You do that if you want to make a machine that can think well, full stop.
Peter Wildford. I think OpenAI genuinely cares about getting society to grapple with AI progress.
I don't think ideological is the right term. You don't make it for direct consumer use if your focus is on consumer utility, but you might well make it for big business if you're trying to sell a bunch of drop-in employees to big business at $20,000 per year a pop or something. That's a pretty great business if you can get it. And the compute is only $10,000 or $1,000. And you definitely do it if your goal is to have that model help make your other models better. It's weird to me to talk about wanting to make AGI and ASI and the most intelligent thing possible as if it were ideological. Of course you want to make those things, provided you, or we, can stay in control of the outcomes. Just think of the potential. It is only ideological in the sense that it represents a belief that we can handle doing that without getting ourselves killed. If anything, to me, it's the opposite. Not wanting to go for ASI because you don't see the upside is an ideological position. The two reasonable positions are, don't go for ASI yet. Slow down there, cowboy. We're not ready to handle this. And we totally can too handle this. Just think of the potential. Or even, we have to build it before the other guy does, which makes me despair, but at least I get it. The position, nothing to see here, what's the point? There is no market for that. Move along now. Can we get that Q4 profit projection memo is the obvious nonsense. And of course, if you don't, as Aaron seems to imply, think Anthropic has its eyes on the prize, you're not paying attention. DeepMind originally did, but Google doesn't, so it's unclear what the mix is at this point over there. What could possibly go right? I want to be clear here that the answer is quite a lot of things. Having access to next-level coding and math is great. Having the ability to spend more money to get better answers where it is valuable is great. Even if this all stays relatively mundane and O3 is ultimately disappointing, I am super excited for the upside and to see what we all can discover, do, build, and automate. Send in the skeptic, guess who? All right, that's my fault, I made that way too easy.
Gary Marcus. After almost 2 years of declaring that a release of GPT-5 is imminent and not getting it, superfans have decided that a demo of system that they did zero personal experimentation with, and that won't, in full form, be available for months, is a mic drop AGI moment. Standards have fallen. O1 is not a general-purpose reasoner. It works where there is a lot of augmented data, etc.
First off, it's your periodic reminder that progress is anything but slow even if you exclude the entire O-line. It has been a little over 2 years since there was a demo of GPT-4 with what was previously a 2-year product cycle. That's very different from 2 years of an imminent GPT-5 release. In the meantime, models have gotten better across the board. GPT-4o, Claude Sonnet 3.5, and Gemini 1206 all completely demolish the original GPT-4, to speak nothing of O1 or Perplexity or anything else. And we also have O1 and now O3. The practical experience of using LLMs is vastly better than it was 2 years ago. Also, quite obviously, you pursue both paths at once, both GPT-N and ON, and if both succeed great, then you combine them.
Srini Pagdyala, if O3 is AGI, why are they spending billions on GPT-5?
Gary Marcus. Damn good question.
So no, not a good question. Is there now a pattern where old-school frontier model training runs whose primary plan was add another 0 or 2 are generating unimpressive results? Yeah, sure. Is O3 an actual AGI? No. I'm pretty sure it is not. But it seems plausible it is AGI level specifically at coding, and that's the important one. It's the one that counts most. If you have that, overall AGI likely isn't far behind. This is almost certainly not AGI. I mention this because some were suggesting it might be.
Alexis Cano, O3 is AGI. Change my mind.
Bin Holfeld, poll, is O3 AGI or not? Yes, O3 is AGI, 19.1%. No, O3 is not AGI, 80.9%.
Here's Jana Wallinder claiming O3 is AGI based off the ARC performance, although she later hedges to partial AGI. And here's Evan Mays, a member of OpenAI's preparedness team, saying O3 is AGI, although he later deleted it. Are they thinking about invoking the charter? It's premature, but no longer completely crazy to think about it. And here's old school and present OpenAI board member Adam D'Angelo saying wild that the O3 results are public, and yet the market still isn't pricing in AGI, which, to be fair, it totally isn't, and it should be, whether O3 itself is AGI or not. And Elon Musk agrees. If O3 was as good on most tasks as it is at coding or math, then it would be AGI. It is not. If it was, OpenAI would be communicating about this very differently. If it was, then that would not match what we saw from O1 or what we would predict from this style of architecture. We should expect O-style models to be relatively good at domains like math and coding, where their kind of chain of thought is most useful, and it is easiest to automatically evaluate outputs. That potentially is saying more about the definition of AGI than anything else. But it is certainly saying the useful thing that there are plenty of highly useful human-shaped cognitive things it cannot yet do so well. How long that lasts? That's another question. What would be the most Robin Hanson take here in response to the ARC score?
Robin Hanson. It's great to find things AI can't yet do, and then measure progress in terms of getting AIs to do them. But crazy wrong to declare we've achieved AGI when reach human level on the latest such metric. We've seen dozens of such metrics so far, and may see dozens more before AGI.
O1 listed 15 when I asked, oddly without any math evals, and Claude gave us 30. So yes, dozens of such cases. We might indeed see dozens more depending on how we choose them. But in terms of things like ARC, where the test was designed to not be something you could do easily without general intelligence, not so many, it does not feel like we have dozens more such things left. This has nothing to do with the financial definition of AGI between OpenAI and Microsoft, of $100 billion in profits. This almost certainly is not that either, but the two facts are not that related to each other. Does this mean the future is open models? Evan Conrad suggests this because the expenses will come at runtime, so people will be able to catch up on training the models themselves. And of course this question is also on our minds given DeepSeek v3, which I'm not covering here but certainly makes a strong argument that open is more competitive than it appeared. More on that in future posts. I agree that the compute shifting to inference relatively helps whoever can't afford to be spending the most compute on training. That would shift things towards whoever has the most compute for inference. The same goes if inference is used to create data to train models.
Dan Hendricks. If gains in AI reasoning will mainly come from creating synthetic reasoning data to train on, then the basis of competitiveness is not having the largest training cluster, but having the most inference compute. This shift gives Microsoft, Google, and Amazon a large advantage.
Inference compute being the true cost also means that model quality and efficiency potentially matters quite a lot. Everything is on a log scale, so even if Meta's M5 is sort of okay and can scale like O5, if it's even modestly worse, it might cost 10x or 100x more compute to get similar performance. That leaves a hell of a lot of room for profit margins. Then there's the assumption that when training your bespoke model, what matters is compute, and everything else is kind of fungible. I keep seeing this, and I don't think this is right. I do think you can do okay as a fast follower with only compute and ordinary skill in the art. Sure. But it seems to me like the top labs, particularly Anthropic and OpenAI, absolutely do have special sauce, and that this matters. There are a number of strong candidates, including algorithmic tricks and better data. It also matters whether you actually do the thing you need to do.
Tanishq Abraham. Today, people are saying Google is cooked ROFL.
Galabytes. Not me, though. Big parallel thinking just got de-risked at scale. They'll catch up. If recursive self-improvement is the game, OpenAI will win. If industrial scaling is the game, it'll be Google. If unit economics are the game, then everyone will win.
Passion Pronto. Why does OpenAI have an advantage in the case of recursive self-improvement? Is it just the fact that they were first?
Galabytes. We're not even quite there yet. But they'll bet hard on it much faster than Google will, and they have a head start in getting there.
What this does mean is that open models will continue to make progress and will be harder to limit at anything like current levels, if one wanted to do that. If you have an open model Llama N, it now seems like you can turn it into M-eta N, once it becomes known how to do that. It might not be very good, but it will be a progression. The thinking here by Evan at the link about the implications of takeoff seemed deeply confused. If we're in a takeoff situation, then that changes everything, and it's not about who can capture the value, so much as who can capture the light cone. I don't understand how people can look these situations in the face and not only not think about existential risk, but also think everything will seem normal. He's the one who said takeoff and fast takeoff, which classically means it's all over in a matter of hours to weeks. As a reminder, the traditional definition of slow takeoff is remarkably fast. Also, best start believing in them, because it sure looks like you're in one.
Tea or taxes? It's about time ML Twitter got brought up to speed on what takeoff speeds mean. Cristiano. There will be a complete 4-year interval in which world output doubles before the first 1-year interval in which world output doubles. That's slow. We're in the early stages of it.
Not priced in. One answer to why didn't NVIDIA move more is, of course, everything is priced in, but no, of course it isn't. We didn't know. Stop pretending we knew. Insiders in OpenAI couldn't have bought enough NVIDIA here. Also, on Monday, after a few days to think, NVIDIA overperformed the NASDAQ by approximately 3%. And this was how the Wall Street Journal described that, even then.
Wall Street Journal Dow slips, NASDAQ gains. The NASDAQ rose as 2 stocks with cult followings, MicroStrategy and Palantir, joined the NASDAQ 100 index.
No, I didn't buy more on Friday. I keep telling myself I have NVIDIA at home. Indeed, I do have NVIDIA at home. I keep kicking myself, but that's how every trade is. Either you shouldn't have done it, or you should have done more. I don't know that there will be another moment like this one, but if there is another moment this obvious, I hereby pledge in public to at least top off a little bit. Nick is correct in his attitude here. You do not need to do the research, because you know this isn't priced in, but in expectation you can assume that everything you are not thinking about is priced in. And now, as I finish this up, NVIDIA has given most of those gains back on no news that seems important to me. You could claim that means yes, priced in. I don't agree. Our media is failing us.
Spencer Schiff on Friday. In a sane world, the front pages of all mainstream news websites would be filled with O3 headlines right now.
The traditional media, instead, did not notice it at all. And one can't help but suspect this was highly intentional. Why else would you announce such a big thing on the Friday afternoon before Thanksgiving? They did successfully hype it among AI Twitter, also known as the future.
Bindu Reddy. The O3 announcement was a masterstroke by OpenAI. The buzz about it is so deafening that everything before it has been wiped out from our collective memory. All we can think of is this mythical model that can solve insanely hard problems.
Nick, the whole thing is so Thelian. If you're going to take on a giant market doing probably illegal stuff, call yourself something as light and booba as possible, like Airbnb, Lyft. If you're going to announce AGI, do it during a light and happy 12 Days of Christmas short demo.
Sam Altman replying to Nick, Friday before the holidays news dump.
Well then, in that crowd it was all software engineers are cooked and people filled with some mix of excitement and existential dread. But back in the world where everyone else lives.
Image. The image shows a Wall Street Journal webpage layout featuring multiple news articles and headlines. The article, highlighted with a red circle and arrow, discusses OpenAI's Orion project having difficulties, with the headline, "The next great leap in AI is behind schedule and crazy expensive," appearing alongside other stories about prison contracts, retirement, and international news.
Benjamin Todd. Most places I checked didn't mention AI at all, or they'd only have a secondary story about something else like AI and copyright. My Twitter is a bubble, and most people have no idea what's happening. OpenAI. We've created a new AI architecture that can provide expert-level answers in science, math, and coding, which could herald the intelligence explosion. The media. Bond funds.
Davidad. As Matt Levine used to say, people are worried about bond market liquidity.
Here is that WSJ story, talking about how GPT-5 or Orion has failed to exhibit big intelligence gains despite multiple large training runs. It says, so far the vibes are off, and says OpenAI is running into a data wall and trying to fill it with synthetic data. If so, well, they had O1 for that, and now they have O3. The article does mention O1 as the alternative approach, but is throwing shade even there, so expensive it is. And we have this variation of that article in the print edition on Saturday after 03.
Wall Street Journal, the next AI breakthrough proves elusive. AI chatbots run on underlying technology known as a large language model, or LLM. Consumers, businesses, and governments already rely on them for everything from writing computer code to spiffing up marketing copy and planning parties. OpenAI's is called GPT-4, the fourth LLM the company has developed since its 2015 founding. While GPT-4 acted like a smart high schooler, the eventual GPT-5 would effectively have a PhD in some tasks, a former OpenAI executive said. Earlier this year, Altman told students in a talk at Stanford University that GPT-4 is a year with a high degree.
Sam Altman. I think the Wall Street Journal is the overall best U.S. newspaper right now, but they published an article called "The Next Great Leap in AI is Behind Schedule and Crazy Expensive," many hours after we announced 03.
It wasn't only WSJ either. There's also Bloomberg, which normally I love.
Dean W. Ball. Crazy that this is on the front page of Bloomberg right now.
Bloomberg. Why AI is facing diminishing returns. 2 years ago, OpenAI's ChatGPT became the tech industry's biggest product. Yet increasingly, AI developers find their models aren't improving as fast as they used to, and profitability remains elusive.
On Monday, I did find coverage of 03 in Bloomberg, but it not only wasn't on the front page, it wasn't even on the front tech page. I had to click through to AI. Another fun one, from Thursday, here's the original in the NY Times.
Steven Pinker. Is the tech industry already on the cusp of an AI slowdown? There's only one internet, and throwing more and more data at a system doesn't make it smarter and smarter, as Gary Marcus has pointed out.
Is it Cade Metz? Yep, it's Cade Metz and also Trip Mickle. To be fair to them, they do have Demis Hassabis quote saying chatbot improvements would slow down. And then there's this. Love it.
Cade Metz. Not everyone in the AI world is concerned. Some, like OpenAI's chief executive, Sam Altman, say that progress will continue at the same pace, albeit with some twists on old techniques.
That post also mentions both synthetic data and O1.
Cade Metz. OpenAI recently released a new system called OpenAI O1 that was built this way, but the method only works in areas like math and computing programming, where there is a firm distinction between right and wrong.
It works best there, yes, but that doesn't mean it's the only place that works. We also had Wired with the article, Generative AI still needs to prove its usefulness. True, you don't want to make the opposite mistake either, and freak out a lot over something that is not available yet. But this was ridiculous, not covered here, deliberative alignment. I realized I wanted to say more here and have this section available as its own post, so more on this later. The lighter side. Oh no.
Eigengender. LLM progress is slowing down. GPT-3 was a 50% improvement from GPT-2, but GPT-3 to GPT-4 was only a 33.33% improvement, and GPT-5 is only predicted to be a 20% improvement. Eigengender, unprecedented breakthrough from 01 to 03 according to my proprietary metrics.
Oh no.
Mikhail Brockman. 03 is going to be able to create incredibly complex solutions that are incorrect in unprecedentedly confusing ways. We made everything astoundingly complicated, thus solving the problem once and for all. Humans will be needed to look at the output of AGI and say, "What the bleep is this? Delete it."
Oh no.
Chubby, what 4 months of progress look like via Reddit?
Image. The image in the tweet shows 2 YouTube thumbnails of a creator named Theo. First thumbnail, AI isn't going to keep improving. Second thumbnail, breaking. OpenAI's new O3 model changes everything.
This has been an episode of the Don't Worry About the Vase podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please visit thezv.substack.com to support the author. If you enjoy having AI-narrated episodes, please note this is a listener-supported podcast. To receive new posts and support the cost of creation, consider becoming a subscriber at dwatvpodcast.substack.com. Thanks for listening.